In this video, I break down the most common money mistakes that quietly cost people millions over their lifetime. These mistakes are not random. They tend to show up at very specific stages of life. That is why this breakdown is organized by age group. We will look at financial missteps people commonly make in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Each decade brings new responsibilities, new pressures, and new traps. If you understand them early, you can avoid repeating patterns that derail long-term wealth. Let us begin with your 20s. Your 20s are not about being perfect with money. They are about laying foundations. Unfortunately, this is also where some of the most expensive mistakes begin. The first major mistake people make in their 20s is waiting too long to start investing. Time is the most powerful variable in investing. If someone begins investing just $200 per month at age 25 and earns an annual return of 8%, that account can grow $622,000 by age 65. Now compare that to someone who waits until age 35 to invest the same amount with the same return. By retirement age, the balance drops to around $287,000. That is a difference of $330,000. The second investor only contributed less in total. The difference comes from time. Those first 10 years carry the greatest compounding impact. Money invested early has the longest runway to grow. Delaying even a decade can permanently cap your future options. The second common mistake in your 20s is failing to build credit history. Many young adults avoid credit entirely. While avoiding debt is wise, avoiding credit altogether can create serious obstacles. I recently spoke with a 29-year-old who had no credit score at all. She used debit cards. As a result, she struggled to rent an apartment and could not qualify for a car loan. A lack of credit history can be just as limiting as bad credit. You can build credit without taking risks. One basic credit card used for small, routine purchases is enough. Set automatic payments to ensure the balance is paid on time. Credit scores are influenced by consistent payments. With steady usage, many people can establish solid credit within 6 to 18 months. This small habit creates flexibility later when it matters most. The third mistake people make in their 20s is buying a new car unnecessarily. New cars feel like a milestone. But financially, they are one of the fastest appreciating purchases you can make. According to recent industry data, the average monthly payment on a new car is now around $748. For a used car, the average payment is closer to $530. That difference compounds into thousands of dollars. The moment a new car leaves the dealership, its value drops. If the monthly payment strains your budget, the stress is not temporary. It follows you every month for years. I favor a conservative framework when buying vehicles. A common guideline is 20% down payment and loan term no longer than 4 years, while ensuring the transportation costs are kept under 10% of monthly income. Following this rule reduces the chance that a car purchase undermines your broader financial goals. The fourth mistake in your 20s is moving out too early without financial stability. Not everyone has this option, but for those who do, leaving prematurely can delay progress by years. Many young adults move into apartments they can barely afford, with no emergency fund and minimal saving. The median rent in the United States has surpassed $1,600 per month. Postponing independence by even 1 or 2 years can create breathing room. That time can be used to build savings, eliminate debt, and establish stability. Timing is important. The fifth major mistake in your 20s is not budgeting at all. Without a budget, money quietly disappears. Data shows that nearly 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. When expenses are not tracked, debt often fills the gap. Credit cards and personal loans become tools for daily survival rather than convenience. The good news is that budgeting works. Majority of people who adopt a budget report say it helps reduce or avoid debt. A budget does not need to be complex. Start by recording average monthly expenses. Identify where the largest costs occur. Awareness alone often triggers better decisions. This habit becomes increasingly important as income rises in later decades. As people move into their 30s, the nature of financial mistakes begins to shift. Income usually increases, responsibilities multiply, lifestyle decisions become more expensive, and the margin for error begins to shrink. The first common mistake in your 30s is overspending on weddings. Modern weddings often come with six-figure expectations and five-figure price tags. Average wedding costs regularly exceed $25,000 and can climb much higher in high-cost areas. The major expenses are venue and catering. Guest count can also determine if a wedding will become a financial setback. A useful principle is to cap wedding spending at no more than 20% of combined annual income. If a couple earns $150,000 per year, that places a reasonable budget around $30,000. Weddings last one day. The financial consequences can last decades. Continuing with your 30s, the next major financial mistake is failing to maintain an emergency fund. By this stage of life, finances are no longer straightforward. Housing costs gets higher. Family responsibilities expand. Career moves carry greater risk. Despite this, many people in their 30s still lack 3 to 6 months of living expenses set aside. This leaves them exposed to job loss, medical bills, or sudden repairs. An emergency fund is not designed to generate returns. It exists to absorb disruption. If it is missing, rebuilding it should take precedence over more aggressive financial strategies. The third mistake commonly made in the 30s is buying a home that stretches finances too thin. Home ownership is portrayed as a benchmark of success, but true cost of owning a home is widely underestimated. Beside mortgage payment, maintenance, property taxes, insurance, and utilities accumulate quietly. Recent surveys show that maintaining a single-family home in the USA costs over $21,000 per year. Before committing to what is typically the largest purchase of a lifetime, it is essential to understand the full financial load. A home should enhance your life, not consume it. The fourth mistake in your 30s is getting complacent with debt, even as earning potential accelerates. At the same time, responsibilities compound. Careers intensify. Children may arrive. Individuals begin helping aging parents. As pressure increases, debt can appear to offer relief. Credit cards, personal loans, ease short-term strain, but they come at the cost of long-term progress. Debt undermines compounding, so if borrowing is unavoidable, it must come with a clear payment plan. Allowing balances to linger quietly restricts future choices. The fifth mistake in your 30s is uncontrolled lifestyle inflation. As income grows, spending usually rises alongside it. Upgrades begin to feel justified. Nicer vehicles, larger homes, more frequent luxury purchases. On their own, these changes may seem manageable. Together, they can delay financial independence by decades. One useful mental shift is to evaluate upgrades over longer time horizons. Rather than asking whether something is affordable today, consider its cost over 5 or 10 years. When future trade-offs are made visible, many impulse upgrades lose their appeal. Moving into your 40s, a stage of professional stability where careers are established and families are settled. But financial mistakes made here are far more difficult to reverse. The first major mistake people make in their 40s is falling behind on retirement savings. At this stage, retirement is no longer theoretical. It is approaching. Many suggest that by 40, individuals should have accumulated between 3 and 6 times their annual income. For someone earning $100,000 per year, that implies a minimum balance of $300,000. Another widely referenced guideline is the 4% rule. This suggests that withdrawing 4% of retirement savings annually has historically been sustainable over long periods. Using this framework, a $1 million portfolio could support withdrawals of $40,000 per year. This rule can also be reversed to estimate how much must be saved before retirement. The core takeaway is simple. Your 40s still allow time for compounding to work. But delays at this stage dramatically increase the savings required later. The second common mistake in your 40s is not having an estate plan. By this point, many people have dependents, assets, and long-term obligations. Without an estate plan, uncertainty becomes a burden placed on loved ones. A basic plan typically includes a will, medical directives, and legal authorizations. These documents clarify decisions during illness or incapacity. They can often be completed efficiently through online services. Planning ahead removes confusion. The third mistake in your 40s is insufficient insurance coverage. Two types of protection become especially important during this decade: life insurance and disability insurance. A common guideline for life insurance is coverage equal to 10 to 15 times annual income. For someone earning $100,000 per year, that equates to $1 to $1.5 million in coverage. While the figure may sound large, term life insurance is generally affordable, particularly for healthy individuals. Disability insurance is often overlooked, yet the risk of income loss due to illness or injury is substantial. Some employer plans provide partial coverage. If not, private options should be carefully evaluated. The fourth mistake people frequently make in their 40s is excessive spending driven by success. Data shows that household debt often peaks between the ages of 40 and 49. This includes mortgages, vehicle loans, student debt, and credit cards. Career advancement can create a false sense of security. Higher income does not eliminate financial risk. Debt accumulated during this decade can extend directly into retirement. Avoid borrowing for purchases that offer short-term satisfaction but long-term regret. The fifth and most dangerous mistake in your 40s is attempting to compensate for lost time through shortcuts. Some people begin serious financial education in midlife. When they are behind, panic can take hold. This often leads to speculative behavior, chasing trending stocks, entering complex real estate arrangements, taking risks to accelerate progress. However, sustainable wealth is built through consistency, diversification, and patience. Broad-based investing and steady contributions may feel slow, but desperation-driven decisions can erase years of progress. The objective is not to gamble your way forward. It is to steadily regain control. Now, about your 50s. This decade represents a narrowing window. Retirement is no longer far away. The choices made here often determine whether retirement feels stable or stressful. The first major mistake people make in their 50s is tapping retirement funds too early. Some individuals withdraw money to support lifestyle upgrades. This may include buying a second property, funding luxury travel, or renovating a home. While these goals can feel reasonable, early withdrawals are extremely expensive. Funds taken from retirement accounts before age 59.5 typically face a 10% penalty. In addition, withdrawals from tax-deferred accounts are taxed as ordinary income. Someone in a 22% tax bracket withdrawing early can result in thousands of dollars lost to taxes and penalties. That loss cannot be recovered. Retirement accounts exist for a specific purpose. They should remain untouched. The second mistake people make in their 50s is abandoning the stock market entirely. Traditional advice often encourages shifting heavily into conservative assets at this stage. While reducing risk is sensible, eliminating growth is not. People in their 50s still have 10 to 15 years before retirement. That is enough time for equities to contribute. Maintaining a balanced allocation allows portfolios to continue compounding while managing volatility. A portfolio that becomes too conservative to early risks losing ground to inflation. Growth does not suddenly stop simply because retirement is approaching. The third mistake in your 50s is carrying high-interest debt alongside a mortgage. Paying down a mortgage can feel emotionally rewarding, but not all debt should be treated equally. High-interest debt should be addressed aggressively. Your 50s are critical to control cash flow. Ideally, age 60 marks the transition into debt-free living. Reaching that point requires decisive action in the years leading up to it. The fourth mistake in your 50s is failing to use catch-up contributions. Many retirement plans allow higher contribution limits after age 50. This applies to employer-sponsored plans such as 401ks, as well as individual retirement accounts. These provisions exist to help people accelerate savings during peak earning years. If cash flow allows, maximizing these contributions can meaningfully strengthen retirement readiness. Employer matching contributions should never be ignored. They represent guaranteed returns. Now let us move into your 60s. This is the decade when planning turns into execution. The first and most critical mistake retirees make is entering retirement without a withdrawal strategy. At this stage, the focus shifts from accumulation to sustainability. Without a clear plan, retirees may withdraw too much, too early. Market downturns can magnify this risk. At the same time, inflation and rising healthcare costs can quietly erode purchasing power. Many frameworks reference a withdrawal rate of approximately 4% per year. Historically, this rate has supported long retirement horizons across a wide range of market conditions. Higher withdrawal rates increase the risk of depleting savings prematurely. The objective is not perfect precision. It is consistency and discipline. The second mistake people make in their 60s is withdrawing too little out of fear. Some retirees remain mentally stuck in saving mode. Worried about outliving their assets, they limit spending excessively. Research shows that many retirees withdraw closer to 2% per year. This often leads to missed opportunities. Travel plans are delayed. Experiences with family are postponed. Interests and hobbies go unexplored. In many cases, individuals pass away with large, unused balances. If retirement savings were built to support a meaningful life, then intentional spending becomes part of the plan. The shift from saver to spender is psychological, but it is necessary. The third mistake in your 60s is claiming Social Security benefits too early. In the United States, benefits can begin as early as age 62. However, claiming early permanently reduces the monthly benefit. At 62, recipients receive roughly 70% of their full benefit. Waiting until full retirement age increases that amount significantly. For many people, delaying benefits provides higher guaranteed income for life. When circumstances allow, patience can deliver long-term rewards. The fourth mistake in retirement is failing to define a purpose. Financial preparedness alone does not guarantee a fulfilling retirement. Studies show that retirees who plan for meaning experience better mental health and stronger social connections. Work often provides structure, identity, and direction. When it ends, many people struggle. Without a clear vision, boredom takes over. Some return to work not because they need the income, but because they lack engagement. Retirement planning should include personal goals that may involve volunteering, learning new skills, joining community organizations, or pursuing creative projects. A clear sense of purpose turns retirement into a new chapter rather than a conclusion. The fifth and final mistake in your 60s is neglecting healthcare planning. Healthcare costs are one of the largest uncertainties in retirement. Programs such as Medicare begin at age 65, but coverage is incomplete. Dental care, vision services, and long-term care are often excluded. Supplemental insurance options exist, but understanding them requires preparation. Research estimates that the average retired couple may need more than $300,000 for healthcare expenses throughout retirement. Even after Medicare, those who retire before age 65 must also plan for interim coverage. Healthcare planning is not optional, it is foundational. That concludes this breakdown of the most common financial mistakes across every stage of adulthood. Each decade brings different challenges, but awareness creates opportunity. Which of these mistakes feels most relevant to you right now? Leave a comment below and join the discussion. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.